could just grasp the power of innate intelligence.
Nice. Thank you so much for joining us.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Amazing. Perfect. Okay, so I think maybe we'll see with Rodrigo and Leo if we're still going to wait a couple of minutes or if we're going to start right away.
I'm ready when you are. Take your time.
I think we can start right away.
Perfect.
Because it's time.
Perfect.
Thank you very much, Austin, to be here with us. I'm sure it's going to be awesome. First, I would like to present Sigma Dynamics, why we do all of that, but not all in English because I'm not so much. Sigma Dynamics. On adore partager avec Rodrigo pourquoi on fait tout ça, pourquoi on partage tout ça, pourquoi on bouge, pourquoi on a créé ces conférences, pourquoi on a créé Sigma. Parce que pour nous, être en contact avec des mentors, être en contact avec des masters, ça nous a changé la vie. Ça nous a changé la vie, pas uniquement dans la chiro, parce que ça nous a permis d'atteindre plein de choses, de devenir des bons ajusteurs, je pense, de réussir plus ou moins la clinique. Et de rencontrer toujours plus de gens, mais aussi dans notre vie personnelle. Ça nous a permis d'évoluer, de trouver vraiment une voie, une passion, d'évoluer et plus personnellement aussi. Et c'est pour ça qu'on a toujours envie de donner cette opportunité au plus de gens possible, que tout le monde puisse avoir la chance qu'on a eue. Et aujourd'hui, on a envie d'évoluer, mais on a un peu moins de temps. Et 2 personnes, ça fait moins de travail que plus de personnes. C'est pour ça qu'on a décidé d'ouvrir Sigma, de faire en sorte qu'il y ait plus de gens. Et on a choisi les meilleurs, les gens qui contenaient vraiment, ils sont tous différents, mais ils ont quelque chose en commun, c'est leur amour, leur amour de l'amour de la chiro, l'amour de la vie. Une passion et envie aussi de partager comme ce qu'on a pu faire au début, sans compter les heures. Et donc, ils sont tous là, je crois. Du coup, il y a Pauline Gir, du coup, Ishra Kag, Sizi Lou. Ensuite, il y a le grand Lucas Pagès. Charlène, Petit Jean, et il y a du coup forcément Hugo qui organise la conférence et vous connaissez aussi tous Rodrigo, mais ça n'a pas changé. Du coup, aujourd'hui, j'ai vraiment envie de remercier tous ces gens, tous ces amis qui vont nous aider maintenant à faire grandir la chiro, à faire grandir Sigma, à faire grandir le développement personnel. Merci du fond de cœur. Merci à vous tous qui nous soutenez depuis toujours. Que dire de plus? Merci à tous ceux qui nous ont inspirés aussi, donc Sébastien Fuentes entre autres et tous les autres. C'est vraiment voilà. Je laisse la parole à Hugo. Thank you very much everyone. Thank you Hugo. And Austin, I just said you are amazing. Thank you.
That's it then. We don't need to talk about anything else. We'll leave it at that. Well, thank you, Leo.
Sorry?
I just want to do a quick debriefing of what Leo just said to us, if that's okay.
Please.
He just talked about what we're all about at Sigma Dynamics, about our vision, our mission, and everything. We want to teach all the students and everyone what chiropractic is all about and to get confident and all those things. And that we do with our mentors and people that we really appreciate and that we really look up to and that inspire us. So that's what Leo just said to all our students and everyone else is listening. So yeah, thank you everybody for joining us tonight. Today and tonight I got the pleasure to introduce to you our speaker of tonight, who he got his diploma from Life Chiropractic College West. He is the best doctor elected by the Best of the Bay in 2016. He's practicing and he's serving chiropractic in the West Coast of America. Thank you so much for being there with us tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Dr. Austin Davis. Thank you so much. If he's there. Can you hear us, Austin? Dr. Austin.
J'ai l'impression que la co, elle a frisé. Elle va revenir.
Yeah, he's coming back. That will be okay. Okay, he's not there anymore. Well, he will come back. We got the times. Il m'a envoyé un message et il va revenir. Léo, si jamais tu vois qu'il revient.
Yes. En passant, je profite de cette petite pause pour vous demander de mettre la caméra à ceux qui sont chauds parce que c'est toujours plus plaisant de voir du monde et voilà, tout simplement pour ça. Voilà.
Yes. Je reviens, j'envoie un message à Austin. Alors, il va revenir, il m'a dit 1 minute. Je pense qu'il a des problèmes de Wi-Fi, mais ça va aller. Toujours pas là.
Il a pris peur.
Ouais, je pense aussi. Come on, Austin.
Plus le chiro est stylé, plus il attend un petit peu pour venir.
C'est ça. J'espère que vous avez tous, toutes et tous, des questions à poser à la fin. Ça serait vraiment cool.
Ah. He's here.
Is here. Austin, are you there? Can you hear us?
Yes, I'm back.
Perfect. So what did you get for my introduction? Did you get anything or did you No.
Principle, and then that's it.
Sorry, what did you say? I didn't hear you.
Oh, that you guys enjoy listening to the principal and having good mentors, and then
Yes,
that's
perfect.
it.
That's everything. So yeah, I'll leave the talk
That's all
to
I
you.
need to know.
Everything. Perfect. Cool. It's all up to you.
Okay, I'm ready when you are.
We're all good.
Good. Okay,
Yeah.
everybody. Well, thank you so much for being here and joining us. It's actually a bigger and more important concept than you realize. Your life at this point, especially as students, your life is based on a series of choices. And it is what you choose to do that will shape your life. Before we get too deep into this, I will introduce myself a little bit. My name is Dr. Austin Davis. I'm a chiropractor in San Francisco, California. So my practice is right in the heart of San Francisco, in the middle of the city. I am essentially like a third generation chiropractor. My grandparents were involved, my father, many of my immediate family, myself. I practice what we call sort of old school straight chiropractic. And maybe you guys know this term, maybe you don't, but straight chiropractic for us means hands-on adjusting. Now, I understand that people may use activators or the tables, but what it means is we only focus on chiropractic, on the adjustment. There's a lot of other modalities. There's muscle stimulation and hot and cold packs and taping and all these other things that people as chiropractors will use. They're helpful for sure, but we were not destined and put on this earth to rub cream on people's shoulders or tape ankles. We were created and put on this earth to help release the imprisoned potential within each individual. And that is the power of chiropractic. Often it gets confused with being a doctor. There's going to be many people that you come in contact with in school. To be honest, probably many of you will be good doctors. You'll be good at being with people. You'll be good at helping people and explaining certain things. But being a doctor is very different than being a chiropractor. Yes, we are doctors, but the chiropractor focuses and works with a philosophy, and that's what separates us from being a doctor. Yes, doctors have philosophies. I get that. There's a do no harm and these kinds of things, right? Hippocratic oath. But the philosophy of chiropractic, the why of chiropractic is what sets us apart, and it needs to be respected, and it needs to be upheld by students. It starts early, and it needs to be something where you are, what we say, you stand strong on principle. The principle of chiropractic is interference, right, to a communicating system leads to dysfunction, whether it's mental, emotional, physical, chemical dysfunction. Our purpose as chiropractors is to remove that interference. And I know you know this stuff. We're just setting a baseline. So now that I know we're all on the same page. With that baseline of knowing that with two hands, or one hand, maybe you had one arm cut off from a rock climbing accident. You're still a chiropractor. You don't need two hands. With one hand, you can do the job with no hands. Heck, you don't even need eyes. I went to school with a chiropractor named Dr. Rocco, blind, completely blind. It was one of the best adjusters I've ever had the pleasure of working with. So you don't need full capacity. You just need an ability to adjust and a purpose and desire and passion for helping others. And that's where things can get a little confusing, especially for students as we come out of school and we want to do everything all at once to help everybody. And the important thing, and we're going to go through a couple bullet points here, especially for students, but the important things to really just dial in right now as students, because I see there's 40 or 50 of you on here, so I don't know what level of school you're in. So we're going to give sort of the basics of what to focus on in school, whether it's your first day or coming up on your last day and you're going to be graduating and going into practice. These are the same things to focus on. And the most important things are focusing on principle and philosophy and the art of adjusting, right? Working on the ability to deliver the adjustment. Because you can have the strongest philosophy and the most principle, and if you're unable to deliver the adjustment, you're a good educator, but we want you to become a great chiropractor, and it takes science, art, and philosophy to do that. This will not be a science talk, just so we're clear. There's plenty of science out there. There's volumes of books and studies. The science is all out there. There's even a green book, I believe, called Science, and you just read through it. Everything's in there. It's old. Good news is it has remained unchanged because it doesn't have to change. The science is the science. Now, the art, not something I can help you through the screen with, but practice, 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 practice as much as you can with everybody all the time. When you sit next to someone, if you guys are doing in class, I don't know if it's all, web-based learning, but whoever you're with, start palpating hands and wrists and ankles and shoulders and necks, and get your hands on as many people as possible, as often as possible, so you can build a mental library of what everything should feel like. So when you put your hand on someone, you immediately know that is not normal. That does not feel like to 10,000 other shoulders that I've felt, or the neck, or the hip, or the leg, and you start to get intuitive hands. And that's building the art. The adjustment, everyone adjusts a little differently. So to say like there's one perfect adjustment or one technique or whatever, that's not my business. I don't care how you adjust. You find whatever you're comfortable doing. You want to do only upper cervical, you want to do only sacrum, whatever you want, that's fine. But make sure that you build a mental memory bank for your hands so that when you have what we call seeing hands, as soon as you touch, you know exactly where to go and why. You may need some more investigation, but it will start to shape your experience, and patients will be blown away that you always seem to know exactly where to go or exactly what to do. That's the art of it. Now, the important part is this, and this is what we're going to be talking about mostly today, is the philosophy. Now, the reason the philosophy is so important is because it is under attack in our profession, both, I'm assuming abroad, but I know in America, and we're being stripped of our identity as chiropractors. They want to remove words like subluxation, adjustment, and take what makes us special and melt us into this sort of what we call metapracting middle ground of where we're sort of doctors, but we're a little different. And if we could just fit into our little cubby hole, we won't cause any waves or make anybody uncomfortable. And now is the time, especially as students, to get really focused on why it is you're a chiropractor. We said find your why. If you want to just help people feel better, great. You will be a great doctor, and that's great. The world needs good doctors. But chiropractic is, and this may be a shock to you, may not be, chiropractic does not care how you feel. Whether you feel good or you feel bad, my goal has nothing to do with making you feel better as a chiropractor. And I tell my patients this, I'm very honest with them. My goal as a chiropractor is to help you function at your peak potential. Now, function and the improvement of function does not always feel good. Growth can be incredibly painful. And it's important to understand this as students, as patients, as doctors, growth can be uncomfortable. And it's productive to understand that that discomfort is communication for the body that's allowing you to heal, to grow, to get stronger, to get better. So if your whole goal is to just remove pain, there's drugstores for that. You can go to a drugstore and remove all pain pretty quickly. So understanding that with two hands, or one hand, with two hands, the power you have in your hands to remove interference, to allow the system to communicate clearly, to allow your innate intelligence to function at its peak potential, allows the patient to enter realms of living that they might not have ever experienced or known that they have. I set goals with my patients, and my patients, it's not always I want to feel better. Some of them, it's I want to be able to pick up my daughter for the first time. I want to be able to eat without feeling like my stomach's ripping in half. I want to get over this depression. I can't seem to get out of this depressed state. And we work on function-based results because as chiropractors, that is what our focus is. We are studying the neurology of the body, the subtle substance of the soul, as B.J. Palmer would say. And we have the ability to release that in people that are living subluxated. I'm sure you guys have run into people that are assholes in your life or a jerk for no reason. A lot of people would avoid those people. I seek them out. I want to find those people. Those are the people that are subluxated. These people are disconnected, not communicating, and it is our responsibility to help bring them into the light. Because if it's not us, then who? They just get over-medicated or ignored or told that there's nothing wrong, and they live chemically interfered, drinking, boozing it up, smoking, doing drugs, whatever. And look, I'm all for having a good time. But when it's your morning routine or your day-to-day function, something wrong with that system. And this is the world you're about to enter. You're entering a world that's very different than what you may assume. Now, the good news is this is the best possible time to be a chiropractor. I'm more excited for chiropractic than ever before. The reason being is you have the internet. People now can start to look up chiropractic, where in the past, it was all sort of in the shadows, or it was books that were passed around, people didn't know what it was. But these days we have the ability to present to the world exactly what we are, exactly how we do it, the importance of why every man, woman, and child needs to have a chiropractor. If you have a nervous system, you need a chiropractor. Not when you feel it, not after you feel it, not before. You need it all the time. Anyone who says, oh, I thank God I've never needed a chiropractor doesn't understand what chiropractic is. Anyone who goes, oh, chiropractor, man, I don't really have any neck or back pain. That's our profession failing that person. People go, oh, people don't get it. That's wrong. We, as chiropractors, have not done enough to present what chiropractic is to the world, because with the information we have readily available, it baffles me. It blows my mind that every man, woman, and children isn't beating down every chiropractor's door to get care on a daily basis, if everyone truly understood what it is that we do. So because that's not happening, I don't blame big pharma. I don't blame medical doctors. I don't even blame the public. I blame our profession for not stepping up in a bigger way and saying, look, this is exactly what we are. This is who we are. This is what we do. And this is why you need us every day for the rest of your life. That's something that you guys can help create, and gals. This is what we need to create as a society. We need a congruent message. And I would love for you guys, after this talk, all 41 of you, get together and write down a list of 5 things that you can all agree on as chiropractors. Sounds easy. I was a member of representative for the ICA for a long time, and I'm in a lot of organizations. You get 10 chiropractors to write a list of what chiropractic is, you're going to get 10 different answers. And that's really, really tough to create congruent environment when you have 10 people, mostly led by their ego, trying to control something that is very clearly laid out. So take the time after this, put it together, Hugo, if you want, put it together, just the 3 things if you want that you can all agree on, and use that as a benchmark of, okay, as we move forward, we can agree on these 3 things. And this way your message becomes very congruent. This is what we need right now. And if I haven't said it yet, everyone buy Hugo a beer after this for putting this together. He reached out to me after a podcast I did. We've been chatting for a while. He is so fired up on this and so pointed in the right direction that I'm really happy for you guys that you get to be in and around Hugo's world. So everyone knows him around. And when I come out there, when they let me, then I'll buy all you guys around. So yeah, as you go through school, here's what I want you guys to focus on. Find what you're passionate about, and it might be the science of it, and that's beautiful. There's a lot of the neuro docs that I went to school with where they just went and did their extra studies in neuro. It might be pediatrics, it might be animal chiropractic, it might be athletes, it's whatever you want. That's fine. Find what you're passionate about. Try not to get too caught up in the minutia of each class. The neuromuscular education, the biochemistry, the heavy sciences are very interesting, very important. I have never once been asked about a basal horn ganglia in my office or gray matter or any neurological component of anything we do in my office in 11 years. So the things that are most important for right now is get your hands as strong as possible. Focus on the adjustment. Get clear on how to adjust. And the ones that trip you up, focus on those the most. I know people that do drop tables simply because they never really wanted to learn side posture. They told themselves they weren't strong enough to do side posture or something like that. And drop tables are a fine technique, but hands-on adjusting to feel the connection of your innate and the patient's innate, and to bond with that patient in a way that you have tapped into that universal intelligence, for me, occurs best with direct contact. And there needs to be that contact, because this way you can now control that entire adjustment, the experience, everything. So practice, 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 practice. I've found in life that people will perform to their lowest level of training, especially in a stressful environment. And sometimes when you're one-on-one with a patient and they're staring you in the face asking for answers, it can be stressful. And the people tend to default down to their lowest level of training. They don't usually rise to the occasion, in my experience. And it's important to know this because you want to create your lowest level of training to be very, very high level. And learning the process of challenging yourself, of adapting to the unknown. We are so afraid to say, I don't know, especially as students. I had the mentality that I didn't know everything, but I knew what I knew, and I was smart enough to get through everything. And as a doctor, especially a young doctor, I wanted to answer every question with the right answer. And it was very freeing for me when I was able to look a patient in the eyes and tell them, I don't know. I don't know the answer to this question. I don't know exactly what's happening. And I will find out. And not having them walk out. I assume they would just walk out of the office going, well, if this doctor doesn't know, why would I go here? But learning that it's okay to say I don't know and use it as a motivator to gain more knowledge, and use it not as a defeat, but really as a victory to your honesty. Be honest with people. If you don't know something, say that. And I've told patients, look, I don't know. In fact, I don't know if I'm the right doctor for you or the right chiropractor for what's going on. I will help you find the right one. And focusing on that honesty is also really important. So if you don't know something, say it. Say you don't know, and find someone who does know, and then learn from them, and focus on them. So much of being a chiropractor is losing your ego, of dropping the ego. We're doctors, right? We're all going to be doctors, which means in one way or another, we're all alphas. We all want to be the lead dog. And that's great. We want that mentality. We want to be driven and focused and passionate. But if we allow that to cloud our vision with ego, that you're the only one, you're the only chiropractor, that no one else can do what you do, it can be more of a destructive environment for a patient. You start to hold patients as prisoners, and that's something that isn't fair to them. It's not fair to you. We don't own these people. These are people with their own lives. We only seek to help them as best we can. Now, it's also important in school to get together in groups like this and talk philosophy. The philosophy, the why, right? We say get the big idea and all else follows. And for you, it's determining what your big idea is. What is your why? Why are you going to wake up in the morning and leave your home and go to your office? If it's to make money, you'll be a decent doctor. If it's to help people feel good, you'll be a decent doctor. If it's because you now know that the universal intelligence that it exists within all matter and unites all matter can be trapped through the subluxation, and with our adjustment we can free that potential so that families stay together, that people act better, people have more love and compassion for each other, our world becomes a better place. When we clear the interference in one person, we clear it in all people. If that becomes your why, it's impossible to not think about the office. I get very agitated when I'm not in my office serving patients. I used to love going to the movies. I used to love going to see shows and music. And to me now it feels selfish. It feels like a waste of time because my purpose is so focused on serving others that I know I do nice things for myself for sure. And I take my breaks to recharge the batteries, but it is now few and far between because I get such a surge of energy, such a rush from being tapped into that source that we all have infinite access to as a renewable resource from the universe, that I don't need much of anything else. Everything is that I used to think was fun seems a bit boring now. And my office is my playground. It's where I get to feel the most alive, and I feel young, and I feel so tapped in and tuned into the experience that it's the ultimate rush. It's the top of the mountain. If you're looking at healthcare, there's, in my opinion, really nothing higher than chiropractic. And like I said, all the other modalities work. Do whatever you want. People, it'll help them feel better. But if you're talking about the purest form of healthcare, the purest form of life expression, is ensuring that the brainstem, nervous system is in clear communication to and from organs, muscles, tissues, and with itself, I challenge you, tell me something that would be more impactful to that system, the system that controls all systems and all functions, than chiropractic. And if you can tell me something that does that, I will close my office today and never return, and will go to school for whatever it is that you have proven me wrong with. As far as I can tell, it's chiropractic, and that's why I dedicate the entirety of my focus and energy to chiropractic. And that may sound like I live like a reclusive life with no family. I have a beautiful life, a beautiful baby boy. We have a cabin in the mountains that I do a lot of hunting and fishing at. I just joined the ski patrol, so I do ski patrol work in the mountains there on my weekends, because the weekend, Dr. Sid Williams, who you guys may know, helped create the Life schools, right? Life University, Life West, created the Life system, which is giving, loving, and serving out of your own abundance without any consideration of what comes in return. And Sid, and we'll go into that in a second, Sid would talk about a day off is followed by an off day. So when I'm not in my office, it's not a day off. It's an outreach day. So I do ski patrols. This way I can exercise. I get my skiing and all this. I telemark ski. But now I get to help people still, because my purpose doesn't shut off when I turn the lights off at my office. It is a lifestyle. Chiropractic is a lifestyle. Those of you who think it needs to be within four walls of an office, that's being a doctor. Those of you who think that philosophy only matters when you're talking to a patient, that's being a good doctor. To be a chiropractor is to live chiropractically, to live with an abundant mindset. We call it positive mental attitude. So you envision in your mind's eye the world that you want to live, because think of your eyes like movie projectors, and what you see in front of you is a creation of what your innate mind is telling you. So if all you see is negative, destructive, or ignorance and stupidity in the world, it's a mental construct that's allowing you to only view those things. So if you create in your mind's eye abundance of love, of giving, of service, of new patients, of whatever it is that you truly want to envision for your life, your projectors will then show you that into the world, because it is really what you make it. So Sid Williams was my mentor for a very long time, still is. He's passed away, but I still follow his teaching. He took the torch from B.J. Palmer and has brought chiropractic into the modern world. Now, Sid Williams, his life philosophy, and my office is Life Chiropractic in the city, but his life philosophy was give, love, and serve out of abundance without any consideration of what comes in return. It's giving to give, loving to love, and serving to serve. Because we see very often people come out of school and they said, well, I put the time in, I put the money in, I put the energy in. I am now owed a certain amount, whether it's from patients or family or whatever. I am owed respect. I am owed my fees for adjusting. I am owed whatever. They think their diploma is like a ticket to get. The most abundant practices I know, the people I know in chiropractic who are the most successful, are not successful because they charge the most, or because they have the fanciest equipment or the newest, fanciest offices. It's because they give the most with no consideration of what comes in return. They serve abundantly. They go above and beyond with service, bending over backwards. We have patients we see at no charge because life dealt them a really shitty hand in life. And if we can help clear their nervous system so they can function a little better, be a more productive member of society, that's what we got in this for. What kind of monster would I be if I said, look, I know you need help, but you can't afford me, so move along. Down the road, goodbye. How is that making our society, our world, myself, any better by only commanding top dollar? So we give abundantly. We serve abundantly. We love abundantly. And this is so important, is that we and you as chiropractors have to love all people. You don't have to like all people. That's an important difference. You have to love all people. We are an interconnected fabric universally. So the love that I put into that helps raise the vibrational love of all people, of all things. If I start to tear at that fabric, it tears at the fabric universally. So the more love I can put into that fabric, the more abundant love I put into that fabric, the better everything gets. Now, I don't have to like everybody. I don't have to like everything, but you have to love it. And love is a respect level that even though someone may vote politically different than me, may rub me the wrong way, may tell me that what I do is a joke, I've been bad-mouthed and talked down to and all this stuff, I love them with all my heart because they are a pure creation of universal intelligence. And their ego is getting in the way, and that's fine. People have egos. I don't have to like what they're saying, but I do have to love that person. To provide the best care involves loving completely. There has to be that respect level for your people. I have people that come in very politically opposed to me, very ideologically opposed to me, and in a bar, we probably would have a yelling match about philosophy and ideology. In my office, I give them a big hug. I tell them I love them. I say thank you for the opportunity to provide care, and I get to work because it doesn't matter what someone looks like, what they think like, what they say, what they do. If they have a nervous system, they deserve the same care and appreciation and love and respect as everyone else, because we as chiropractors get to see behind the curtain. We get to see the inner workings that all people, they want love, they want respect, they want to be treated as a person, and that may have never happened in their life. You know, I take care of a lot of homeless people that live on the streets with nothing. We take care of people in prisons with ultimately nothing other than hatred for society. And we take care of these people with a smile and an open heart and open eyes and open mind. And I greet them with respect because they may have never had that happen in their life. And if you grew up in an environment devoid of respect and love and appreciation, you would probably turn out pretty rough. And if that's your whole world, and it's just assumed that everyone's going to view you as that, it tends to cement in that mentality. That first moment I'm with them and I look them in the eyes, directly into their eyes, not just seeing a person that I have to work on as like a burden, but looking at them as a person and connecting with them on that level and just thanking them for the opportunity to provide care to them. It blows them away. They melt because no one's ever looked them in the eyes. No one's ever respected them. And this isn't just with homeless and inmates. And this is the people that are around you all day. It's easier to put on a brave face sometimes for a lot of people. So you never really know what's going on with the person next to you. They could look like they have it all together and they're totally strong and smart and capable and happy. And on the inside, it's just a total lightning storm. And they're in desperate need of just someone to say, I love and appreciate you, or give them a hug or some kind of contact with appreciation. So when we do this type of work, so much of it comes down to what you bring to the adjustment. You could have two people adjust, same bone, atlas right, same adjustment. And if one person has their mind on the next room, like who's in the next room, how much should I charge them, and they're focused on what they get, and you know, someone who adjusted focused on the person that's with them, the connection, and respecting that they get an opportunity to positively impact that person's life. I'll tell you right now, both bones will move for sure. And you know what? The nervous system will restore function equally. But that patient who was given that extra moment, that extra little bit of connection, and that transfer of loving energy, will enter this world a much stronger, much more connected, much better person than the person that was simply adjusted. So it's bringing a mentality, a focus, a drive to the adjustment that will make it that much more special for that person and help create a society that we know is possible, a society of love, of respect, of patience, of help, and that we look out for one another because you have been looked out for. And that's something, like I said, that is often overlooked in the office and would seem silly, to be honest, in mainstream healthcare, that you take a moment to embrace the dynamic love force that exists within all people in primary healthcare. Probably seems a bit odd. That's the good news for chiropractors. People already think we're odd. We can do whatever we want. And that's the most beautiful thing, because each and every single one of you that's on this has that same potential. Maybe there are chiropractors that were born special. They were born with better hands or whatever. In my opinion, I've met thousands of them. There's no pattern of like who's better than someone else or why someone is successful for no reason. The pattern is who the person is what they bring to the adjustment, what they bring to their office, day in and day out, especially when things are difficult. You have to leave your shit at the door because you need to enter your office as a hollow vessel. The universal intelligence flows through you into that person where they receive that intelligence unadulterated, unmolested. And if you allow the ego to chip away at that and you're imparting that energy that isn't pure and focused energy into that patient, you're now letting them walk away with impurities that you've implanted in that adjustment. It's not fair to them. It's not what needs to happen for them to get completely clear through that chiropractic adjustment. So you enter your office clear, hollow vessel, and I encourage you to create a meditation practice that allows you to clear your mind, separate your mind. I personally have a little cabin up in the woods, and what I do is I like to lay down on my deck, and I do this now in the office immensely, but I will lay down the mountains. If you get a chance, you guys need to Google Lake Tahoe, that's where it is. So you look up the Sierra Nevada mountains. So the mountains, there's hawks flying overhead that hunt near my property, the big pine trees, and I'll sit and I just watch the clouds pass by. And the key is to not focus on any one cloud, because then that draws your attention, that draws your ego to activate. You're now interpreting and deciding what that cloud looks like and how fast it's moving. But you allow your thoughts to be clouds in the sky. And by sitting and allowing them to pass through your mind's eye, it allows you to find that inner space of quiet. And that the quieter you can make your mind, the quieter you make that ego, the louder the voice within gets. And the voice within is your innate. It's your innate intelligence. And it's always right. 100% of the time, your innate is right. It's when we go against our innate, when your innate says, you need to talk to that person, they need help. And you go, oh, they're going to think I'm silly, or they're going to think I'm stupid, or I'm not smart enough. That's your ego that just destroyed your innate for that moment and broke that connection. And you've now let somebody slip through your fingers who needed you. So finding that place where you can become as quiet as possible to allow the voice within to speak through you, and then acting on that voice's direction is what keeps you in the innate flow that's going to allow you to recognize the signs necessary to be a wildly successful chiropractor. Because the signs are always there. It's excuses that blur those signs, that my office isn't big enough, I'm not in the right place, nobody gets it, and it's always someone else's or something else's fault. It's 100% internal to you, the ability to be successful and driven and focused. And you have to go out there and do it day in and day out consistently, and it takes hard work. What we do is very easy. That's the beauty of it. It's a very simple process, rooted in science, deeply philosophical, beautiful art form, thankfully very simple. What trips people up is it can be a thankless profession. It requires daily. In fact, minute to minute is important to reaffirm your why. Not just, well, I did it this morning, by the afternoon, I'll still be good. It's constant reinforcement of why it is you do what you do. I have a few rooms in my office, and every time I walk through a doorway, I imagine a big mesh screen in that doorway. And as I walk through, the mesh just purifies my body. It takes all the junk that the previous patient may have dumped on me, or things that I was thinking or ego, and it just clears me out like a fine mesh screen. So I go into that next room clear and prepared and ready. And every single time I go through a doorway, I imagine clearing my system, reconnecting with my purpose, and understanding exactly why I do what I do. And it takes the dedication and consistency to do this. Because if you want to do this for 30, 40 years, it's not about, well, I did all my prep work on Monday. I'm sure by Friday things will be fine. It's about constant reinforcement, because the people who choose to come see you deserve your ultimate and utmost respect, presence, awareness, and love. These are people with lives. These are not numbers on a page. They chose to be with you, just like you chose to open your office that day. That comes with responsibilities. Those responsibilities have to be respected. If you feel as though that you're off the mark, take a time out. Go to your back office, go somewhere, or if you're in school, take time out. Go be with yourself for a little while, get clear, so that you can come back with the mindset for success, with a positive mental attitude, that you can be that beacon of light for your patients, for your fellow students. It's easy to falter. I almost dropped out of school 2 different times because I was trying to do everything by myself, and I was putting too much on my plate, and I was getting frustrated with all the little things and all the processes, and I had lost sight of why. Why was I doing it? Why did I want to help people? Why? When you lose sight of that why, it becomes very easy to falter. Now, my practice in the city, I run what's called single doc practice. It's just me. I have one office manager who runs the front office. Pre-COVID, we were seeing about 800 or 850 visits a week. Now with COVID, we're probably around 600, 650, which feels pathetically slow. Now, I challenge you to try to shake 600 hands this week. You'll see a lot of times numbers get thrown out and people want to focus on the number. I want 1,000 visits a week. I want this, without fully comprehending what their actual physical, mental, emotional capacity is. So what I want you guys to do right now as students is really take time to focus on the practice you want to create for yourselves. And you might be early in school. That's fine. I think my first or second quarter, I started visualizing what my office would look like. Patient base, the smell of the office, the color of the office, what the doorknob feels like, where the bathrooms are laid out. I would visualize every aspect of my office so that I didn't have to guess if I was in the right place, if this felt right. It just was in my mind's eye. It's a vision I've been focused on for a very long time. So visualize what you see your office being like. I've worked with chiropractors that want to see 60 visits a week. They want to spend an hour with a patient. They want that. As long as they know they want that, they're as happy as any chiropractor out there. But if you think you should be seeing 500 and you're seeing 100 because you're really only mentally or physically capable of seeing 100, you're going to be very disappointed because you think you should be doing a lot more when you have not trained to see that kind of volume. Your report of findings or your intake takes you 45 minutes, an hour. There's no way you can see large numbers until you dial in your processes. So now, as students, this is the time. Get groups together, do a Zoom call, and do report of findings to each other. And after I'm done talking, I apologize if you guys I'm hoping we all have the same terminology, but if you don't know what I'm talking about in terms of a report of findings or something like that, please have someone ask me. We can go through this, but make sure your report of findings is dialed in. Your intake is dialed in. You need to be in control of every aspect of your visit. When a new patient walks in, there should be no guessing from that patient of what they need to do. You can tell them, please sit over here, please fill this out, please sit on the table, turn your head, do this. You guide them with love through that whole process, so there's no guessing. You craft in your mind a process that allows you to see people expediently with love and appreciation. And this will allow you to start to then build a bigger and bigger practice. We schedule right now 4 people for every 5-minute time slot at the office. And it sounds like a pretty intense environment. And it is. We run fast, but we only let a patient leave when we know that they're clear. And some people are in the office for 35 seconds. They come in the room, they're already face down. We check, we adjust, we recheck, and they're out of there. Because anything outside of that is ego. You want to talk to them about the weather. You want to show them a new technique you learn. You want to tape their ankle. That's all extra. My sole purpose, the only thing I truly care about is, are you subluxated or are you clear? All I need to do is find that out. Men, women, children, they're just, it's a gray blob to me. It's just a nervous system that I need to check. Once I know it's clear, I need to get out of the way, let the innate intelligence that controls the body get back to work, right? So it takes, like I said, dedication, it takes love, it takes commitment. And the beautiful thing is once you truly get your why are you opening your office in the morning? Why are you going to class right now? Why are you on this Zoom call? You figure out your why, your big purpose, and things get so much easier, so much more clear, so much more focused and dedicated. And the universe will conspire to help you achieve your why. And as long as you're open to the signs and you see the writing on the wall, the universe will help you. We just need to be humble, obedient, and aware to the voice within to allow it to work through us to do the most good for the most amount of people. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. That's all I got for you today. And I thank you for giving me the time to share this with you. Hopefully it brought up some good topics for you guys. I think we have time for questions and answers, and I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
100%.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Honestly, really good. I'm flabbergasted, really motivated. I've got a huge boost, and I hope that's the same for everyone else on this call. I hope everyone understood it. For me, everything is really clear. Thank you so much. Yeah, if there's anyone that has a question, I hope that you guys prepared some questions. S'il y a des gens qui ont des questions, n'hésitez pas. I've got some questions
in the chat
to get
section.
started.
Yeah, either in the chat section or vocalize. Let me know. Yeah, tell me what I can answer.
Right. So I'm going to start with some questions that I really want to ask you, and then in the meanwhile, the other people that have questions, they can just send it to us so we can translate it, if that's okay. So yeah, who was or who were your role models when you were in chiropractic college? Like, did you have any mentors or like big teachers or people that you look up to?
Absolutely. So first and foremost, and this is going to be one that is going to be difficult for you guys to look up or find information on, but my father was one of my largest role models. He's a very successful chiropractor from New York, and Connecticut and California. But his role model, and who ended up being mine, was this guy Sid Williams, who I think you wrote earlier in the chat section. But
100%.
Dr. Sid Williams, right, who started the DE seminar, which, by the way, I'm going to tomorrow. So
amazing.
I encourage you guys at some point, when travel's a little easier, to come out to Atlanta and be a DE. But what I'm also working on with some of the heads of the DE seminar is trying to figure out a way to get you guys, or schools, especially international schools, a link so we can live stream it or do a Zoom conference where you guys can then tune in to the DE seminars remotely. Because it was DE is what I grew up in. So I grew up literally as a child going with my father. They have it 4 times a year, and the DE is Dynamic Essentials, and you can look up Life DE. I think I can type it into the chat.
Cool. Yeah. Thanks.
lifede.com. Yeah, lifede.com. And later, Hugo, I'll send you. There's a link to. We do these Tuesday night principal phone calls where chiropractors like myself get on for 30 minutes to an hour and do a philosophy talk, and they have them all saved in a database online. It's free to everybody. You can just listen to them.
Amazing. Yeah, thanks.
So growing up at DE was Sid Williams, and one of my all-time favorite authors. And look, B.J. Palmer and the Green Books, everyone should read them, but they can be a little dense, a little heavy. I was never a big fan of reading a lot of it because it was so heavy. So there's another guy, I'll write his name in here, Fred Barge. Fred Barge is arguably my favorite chiropractor and chiropractic philosophy writer. His work just resonates with me all the way from science to philosophy. So his book, Are You the Doctor? Like Lucas wrote, there's one called The Giant and the Pygmy. There's one called something about fear, and all of his writing is phenomenal. There's also this guy here, Dr. Dick Santo. So Dr. Dick Santo, and I will send you some of his stuff as well. He did a talk called The Band of Brothers. And the Band of Brothers is a mentality where he was in the military for a long time before becoming a chiropractor, and it's about you protect the person on your right and on your left, and they protect the person on their right and left. And if everyone's doing that, everyone is protected in a way, and it's about building a community of like-minded individuals to look out for one another. And his talks too are absolutely amazing. So we do Band of Brothers in the States. Like once a month we get together. Sometimes it's philosophy, sometimes it's life stuff, just going, hey, I'm having a hard time with X or whatever. And people just share, and they share openly, and you create a bond and a trust. And sometimes it's saying, hey, my wife is really on my case. Like, I just feel like I'm never doing anything right. And someone goes, oh, yeah, I did that. That was me last year. This is what I did to get through it. And you realize that whatever you're going through, you're not the first person to ever go through it, especially as students. You're not the first person that's ever had to deal with X. Guaranteed, dozens, hundreds, thousands of people have been through exactly what you've been through. And in a way, it makes it very normal, and it makes it very easy to put it behind you and move forward, so it's not like a boat anchor dragging you down, right? So Sid Williams, Fred Barge, Dick Santo, those are a lot of guys that I looked up to.
Perfect.
Now at DE, yeah, it's a new crop of people, but it's the same message, so it's all
of course
inspirational. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Is there anyone else who's got a question? I've got lots of other questions, but if there's anyone else, just open up your microphone, send it to us if we need to translate it. Des questions? No questions. All right. Well, I wanted to know, what is if you remember, what's your best adjustment you ever received, or by who was it? Or if you remember, maybe it's a hard question, but I was really...
Yeah, I can tell you there's two adjustments that stand out for me. I grew up playing hockey, and I played lacrosse in college, and I've had some traumatic head injuries. I have a compression fracture of C5. I broke my neck playing hockey.
Whoa.
And they wheeled me in to a hospital. I woke up in an ambulance, and they wheeled me into a hospital. And I was couldn't move my arms because C5, the shoulders weren't working, arms weren't working, hands weren't working. And the medical doctors took x-rays, and they found on that x-ray the compression fracture. And I was about 12 or 13 years old. And what they wanted to do was fuse titanium to my spine. They wanted to fuse my neck to prevent that fracture from getting worse.
Mm-hmm.
My father, being a chiropractor, said, let me see the x-rays. And he looked at them and he said, okay, but do you see how these vertebrae are off axis? If you fuse that, you create nerve pressure for the rest of his life. What happens to that system? And they said, and I remember this clear as day, they said, we are not trained to look for that. We see an unstable fracture, we need to stabilize it. That's our job. So he signed me out. I never got the surgery. And my father adjusted my occiput, and very gently. And I went and would have occipital adjustments over time and avoided surgery, regained full use of my arms. So it was the first adjustment after that injury that changed the entirety of my life.
Wow, that's super impressive.
Yeah.
Honestly, really good to hear those things, of course.
Yeah.
I think there's some questions in the chat. I don't know if you see them.
Yeah, let's see. How long do you take per patient? Yeah, do you have an assistant? Okay. Susie, great question. What's the other one? Do you talk about innate to your patients? Yes. Okay. Let's answer the first one because it's easy. I take as much time as necessary with each patient. On average, it's just under a minute to a minute and a half per patient. On the third visit on, first visit is the new patient intake. That's a much longer visit. I want to know about that patient's history. I want to know where they're at. I want to know what their goals are. We do digital x-ray. We do kinesiology. We do our exam work. We take as much time as necessary to analyze that patient. And I still say it takes a lot of time, where maybe it's 8 to 12 minutes for a new patient. Second visit, we do our report of findings where we sit down together. We go through the x-rays. We go through the exam findings, and we present a plan of action. Maybe it's just a dislocated rib. I do a lot of rib work. I'm sort of a rib specialist in the city, and a lot of chiros will send me rib patients. So maybe I just need a set of rib. It's not a long process, but maybe it's 15 years of migraines and constipation and high blood pressure and depression. So we sit down and we talk about why all of those things are related to the nervous system, why chiropractic is the perfect thing for all of those things, and not because there's an adjustment for migraines, because there's an adjustment to clear the system to allow it to function properly. And the migraine being a symptom often then gets corrected when the cause gets corrected. So that takes long as well. But once we get them educated as to the importance of what we do, how quickly we can assess the system and correct it, they understand why we move so quickly on the future visits, because everybody deserves what we have. And if we spend 20 minutes with them because they want to talk, or I didn't explain it properly the first time, that's 5, 6, 7, 8 people that could have been adjusted during that time. And that many more people could be clear. So once they get that that's how we operate, they're on board. Now there's patients who want to be in an office for 35, 45 minutes. I refer them to chiropractors I know who take that time. That's just not me, and they know that, and I'm very upfront with them. I do talk about innate intelligence. In fact, I mention it early and often. And I used to, when I was still in my head about chiropractic and thinking that the more I spoke equated to the more professional they thought I would be, I would give them the whole story of chiropractic from the beginning. Now, whenever I have to talk about healing or the potential within, I use innate, and I'll sometimes preface it with innate. I go, basically your inborn intelligence. But I want them to know our terminology. I want them to know why we're doing things we're doing, and the importance of me getting out of the way after I make the adjustment, because that innate intelligence is far greater than our educated intelligence will ever be. I've read 1,000 books. Innate intelligence is infinite. It's an infinite wellspring of knowledge that will never be topped. So no matter how many books I read, it will always be smarter than me and always know exactly what to do at exactly the right time. So I have released my ego that I am the one making the difference, and I am just a hollow vessel. I let the universe guide me to the subluxated segments. I have the in-tune knowledge to clear those segments. I recheck them, and then I'm done. And then I walk out, and that is it. Because that is the most important thing I can do for them, And I just want to leave them with the most important thing. Yeah, so that's a fantastic question.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course, Susie. Hi, Susie. Is that you in your bunk bed? Some chiropractors have a miracle patient. Do you have one? Like you tried something and had results more than expected? Yes. Charlene, great question. I'm going to answer this two ways. One is I'm going to answer your question. The other one is and this is a good thing to learn as students, is always answer the question you wish you were asked, not the question you were asked. So the question I wish you were asked is what's a good way to view all patients as a miracle? Because each and every person has the same potential because of universal intelligence to express life at a higher capacity. In fact, I don't even claim to know what happens after the adjustment. When people go, oh, you adjust me, will I get better? I said, I don't know. They go, well, what do you mean you don't know? Why'd you adjust me then? It's because I know there was interference. By clearing it, I now know that your body can communicate better. And you know what? It may hurt more, or that shoulder you think is your main problem could be secondary to a liver that's not functioning clearly, but the liver's got no pain receptors, so you don't feel that until it's too late. So that adjustment that just cleared that interference is now driving energy to your deficient liver. You won't ever feel that, and you won't thank me for that because you have no idea, because you just want to make sure your shoulder feels better. So we don't base this on how you feel or what we expect after the adjustment. We clear the bone, we clear the interference, and then we get out of the way and know that innate is on the job. That's one way to answer that question, because all people then are miracles. It's incredible what the body's capable of. But to answer your question directly, yes. There's two that come to mind. One of them is, and I'll tell you her first name. Her name is Claudia. She came in almost the day I opened and still is a patient today. She came in drooling on herself in dirty clothing. Her hair was like a big beaver tail dreadlock. Could hardly put words together, and it really was a mess. And I look at her intake form, and she's a lawyer in San Francisco that represents families through divorce, which blows my mind. Her doctor had put her on 4 tranquilizers and 4 heavy antipsychotic antidepressants. And she was literally a drooling mess when she came in. And she had slipped and fallen years ago, and since then her whole quality of life has diminished. And medically, they just polluted her system. That was their solution. All her neurological testing came back negative. Everything on paper looked fine. There's no tumors. They couldn't put their finger on anything. So rather than try to respect the system that exists within everybody, they just pollute it. They say, here's a bunch of chemicals to balance your system out because it's hyperactive in some areas and hypoactive in some areas, or here's a bunch of shit, hope you get better. And clearly it was not better. So we checked and adjusted. Now, this is part of being a doctor, part of being a chiropractor, is treating that person with love and appreciation. She had next to nothing. She was one step away from living on the streets. The smell was aggressive. It was challenging to be in that room. And I very simply could have been like, there's nothing I can do for you, or let my ego get in the way. And what I did instead was I said, let's get on the table, let's see what's going on. When she had fallen, kind of like with my injury, her occiput, right? So the bone that makes up the back of the skull with the foramen magnum, so the brainstem was just being crushed. Her whole dimmer switch was just tuned way down. So I laid her down and just lit up her occiput. Boom, drove everything back into place. She came in twice a day for 5 days in a row to check her atlas and her occiput. And fast forward to today, she started her own law firm. She is off all her meds. She can speak in full sentences. She can look you in the eye. She dresses appropriately and in clean clothing. And she now helps families through all these legal matters and all this, but she has turned her whole life around simply by removing that pressure. And to be honest, and we can go down a list of every patient that we've released pressure on. The other one that's also really important that I want to bring up because it teaches you to think outside the box is a patient came in with migraines. She had migraines for 20 years, and they were shooting Botox into her head and scalp and face every 6 weeks. And she was like 38 or something. She's been having them since she was 16 or 18. And I asked her, she had come in for a shoulder pain. I said, but what's up with these migraines that you've had for 20 years? She said, well, the doctors told me there's nothing we can do for that other than Botox. So I didn't think to bring it up. So we check occiput, clear. We check atlas, off, but not terribly. C2, off. So I was like, okay, there's some upper cervical subluxation. So we adjusted her. She left. Overall was doing better, but migraines continued. Everything I tried, migraines continued. And it started to mess with me a little bit because I knew I was adjusting the right segments at the right time in the right place with the right intention. And the migraines were persisting. And she'd already gone the medical route, and I didn't want to send her deeper into that world. So I started to really look at things. And I started to look into her past and her history. And she had been a cross-country runner and doing a lot of running and rowing. And she had slipped on a cross-country run on some wet leaves or something, terrible ankle injury that apparently she had never had looked at other than like soft cast. Well, it turns out her ankle was so out of alignment. Some people will call it a subluxation, some people won't. It's not part of the spinal column, but her ankle was so out of alignment that her walking was throwing, the ankle was throwing the other knee off the hip, the shoulder, and the neck. So that C1 that we kept adjusting was really out of alignment because that ankle was so messed up that it kept getting knocked out of place. So even though I, in my ego mind, was doing all the right things, I wasn't open to finding the cause properly. Once we set that ankle, she called that afternoon, because we set it in the morning, bawling her eyes out because it's the first time the clouds had parted in her mind in 20 years. She took a nap and she woke up and sat at the edge of the bed and called me, bawling her eyes out because she didn't know what to do next, because she had never woken up with no pain in her life that she remembers. And it wasn't because of the atlas adjustment. It was because, and it wasn't even the ankle, it's finding the cause and being willing to say, there's something I'm missing. There's something more I need to look at. It might not be what I think it is. It's not the glamorous atlas adjustment that like blows open the doors. It's find the cause, correct the cause, and the symptoms follow that. So finding her cause changed my life, changed the whole outlook on how I view patients. I no longer assume anything with anybody, even if I've seen the same thing 2,000 times. I start totally from scratch and look at everything. If that answers your question, Charlie. Okay, what do we got?
Is there any other questions? Are there any other questions? Fire away, people, fire away. N'hésitez pas. Nice.
Hi, Austin. I would like to ask you, how do you see the direction of the chiropractic profession going on in the future? How do you see things evolving?
Okay. That's an excellent question. And this is also why I appreciate the opportunity to share this time with you. I know as students, this is going on to be a pretty long lecture. And when I was a student, I would get fuzzy like around 20 minutes in. So I appreciate you guys being on here for this long. Lucas, it's up to you to determine that. I would love to tell you the direction chiropractic is going to go in. I know the direction it's going in for me, my community, my vision for the world. The more I get to do this, hopefully it follows that vision, mostly because, and I may have said this improperly, it's not my vision, it's chiropractic. I just am a humble servant of chiropractic. I don't try to manipulate the definition or bend it to equate to what I want it to be. I choose to respect that it was laid out a very certain way, a very specific way for us. And although I believe in progression and adaptation, that the major principles of chiropractic are universal laws. It's interference to a communicating system creates dysfunction. correct the interference, correct the dysfunction. It's universal law. It's the same thing with electricity, with how a river moves through the woods. It's the same major principles. So for me to try to manipulate the principles of chiropractic to be something different is going against universal law. And the amount of energy that people, especially people who claim to be mentors and leaders of our profession, the amount of energy they put into changing the shape of chiropractic only serves as a distraction to themselves, to the people that choose to follow them, when that same energy could be just directed into universal law and be so much more productive, so much more congruent, so much more accessible to people. The fact that there aren't chiropractors in every delivery room is embarrassing. The fact that there are chiropractors on every street corner is embarrassing. And the leaders of our profession, I say this boldly, I have enough of history with some of these leaders of chiropractic that truly want to see chiropractic be chiropractic, to know that those who want their name in lights and a flashy Facebook page and all this crap are doing it for themselves first and chiropractic second. And I have social media. You can find me. It's easy. Instagram and Twitter. I'm literally the chiropractor. One word, the chiropractor. And find me on there. Ask me questions. You'll get a sense that I don't sell anything. I don't have an agenda. I simply want to present the truth as I have seen it, without changing it to shape a narrative that allows you to think that I have come up with some brand new scheme or idea for chiropractic. I want the world to fall in love with chiropractic, not a chiropractor. So take the time to fall in love with chiropractic, be a humble servant. If the spotlight shines on you, respect it and treat it right. And that's the best we can do. I would love to tell you that the direction is clear. It's not. It's like I said earlier, it is the best time to be coming out of school because of the information and accessibility of information. But it's going to be one of the most challenging times to become rooted as a principled chiropractor and do only chiropractic. If that answers your question.
Man, that was awesome.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Yeah, if there's no more questions, I don't know if there's any questions.
Yes, I have one more, please.
Yeah, nice.
Can you talk more practically how your office work? So when the patient come for the first visit to the end of his adjustment?
Absolutely. So my office is, by all accounts, small. And to be seeing the numbers we see, it gets busy in there. And people, like I said, they know the process because of education. So for a new patient, they come in, they are greeted, and this whole process is crafted. I try to remove all variability from the process to allow for variability with the patient. Does that make sense? I want every step to be set. So the only thing I have to worry about is the variability of that patient's symptoms or finding the cause. I shouldn't have to worry about where they're going to sit, what they're going to do, where they're going to, every part of it's crafted. Now the key is to craft an experience that feels organic to each person, so they don't just feel like they're being put into a template or like a mill, you know? So to find a way to make it very organic and very natural, very special to that person, without them knowing that it's the same exact process that all patients go through. Because the more you can normalize your patterns, they sit in the same spot, they fill out the same paperwork, they wait in the same place, they then sit on the same table, they do the same exam, it's all the same. It removes the need for you to have to guess what's going to happen next. It's all set. So much of that is just the personality you bring. So how you greet the person, that love that you have for that person helps mask a lot of the fact that it's a very set and specific process. When some patient walks in and says, hey, I'm Dr. Davis, so wonderful to meet you. I'm so glad you're here. Here's some paperwork. Sit in that chair. Now, I have now removed some of their ego, if you will, their ability to call the shots. In Fred Barge's book, Are You the Doctor? If the patient starts going, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'll be here, I'll do this, they are taking the control of this relationship. And when you tell them, hey, we need to see you twice a week for 8 weeks, they're going to go, well, I think differently. And then you're stuck. What do you do with that, right? So if you can craft their experience as you are in control of every single component of it, when it comes to delivering a care plan, they have not made any of their own choices in a positive way other than choosing to come into your office without realizing it, without realizing that you have guided them to that point. So the only logical solution is to continue to follow you into that care plan because they have the trust in you that you've guided them through this whole experience so far. So when they come in, we craft the whole experience so that they make as few choices as possible until the big choice, which is, are you ready to get started? And they say yes, and then you get to work. So.
They pay they pay their care plan full.
So, based on Sid Williams' teachings, he always felt that it was important to have a wide range of possibilities for patients because people are coming from different walks of life. So we have patients who prepay for a year of care because we do like a membership style for a lot of patients where it's unlimited care per month for a flat rate. So they will prepay for a year. We have patients who pay month to month. We have patients who buy 10 visit blocks at a time. We have patients who pay per visit. We have patients we do trade because they don't have the money to pay for the amount of care they need, but they're a landscaper or something like this. They'll come to the house and, you know, do our backyard. And we have some patients that we see at no charge. We see military at no charge. They have paid a debt to our country through service, so we don't charge them. And we have some people, like I said, who have just been dealt a really, really tough hand in life, and maybe nobody's ever done anything for them. So if we can be the person that does it, then hopefully they will take that love and energy into the world and make it a better place. So full spectrum. Another one of Sid's teachings from Dynamic Essentials is we accept all patients regardless of condition and financial capability. We've never turned anybody away because of their condition or because of their financial capability. We have turned people away who don't respect the course of care or choose to shape the care plan their own way and aren't following the protocols that will actually help correct the process. And then those people, we have turned some patients away or at least sent them to other offices, but not because of condition or financial capacity. It was, I need to see you twice a week for 8 weeks. And they go, well, I think I'll come in once a month. And you say, this is probably not the office for you. We're not here to put Band-Aids on big problems. We're here to correct them. If that's not what you want, I can find you an office that'll put Band-Aids on whatever you want. And we send them down the road to some guy that's just want to, you know, rack them and crack them and send them on their way. Yeah.
Thank you. Perfect.
And if you guys are like me, in 20 minutes, you're going to go, oh my God, I should have asked this. Like I said, Hugo and I have been chatting through Instagram. So like I said, Instagram or Twitter, it's literally, I'll type it into here, just find it like this. Just Practor. That's IG and Twitter. So text me questions whenever they come up, not just today, tomorrow. I do this because it's my purpose in life. I wasn't tricked into doing this. I do this because I have seen behind the curtain. I've seen this to be my one driving purpose. And if I can help students, if I can help anybody, I do it without thought. It's what I love to do. So please, at any time, reach out and ask questions. Always happy to answer questions. Or spend time with you if you just want to chat for a while or you're stuck on something. by all means, WhatsApp makes it very easy to do that. So we can always find a way to get to, or Zoom, we can get together and chat. I always make time for the people that are truly invested in learning chiropractic.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. I think we got one last question from Liana. In the chat. Yes, perfect.
Okay. So I do what's called MTFB. I don't know if you guys know it. It stands for move the effing bone. So it's no, I do. This is also the beautiful thing about why I love speaking with students. I do diversified. I'm a basic chiropractor. I want you to know this. I don't claim to have the fanciest techniques or a secret technique that I invented myself, or see things differently, or looking into the spectral plane of biodiverse. I just put my hands on people and move bones. It's as basic as it gets. So I do diversified. I do some Gonstead. I do have drop tables in my office because I do a lot of pre and postnatal care, infant care, pregnancy care, and sometimes moving the hips is a little easier with a drop table. I have some SOT blocks. I do some AK. I don't use an activator. I do everything hands-on, but I did learn the activator protocols because I like the way that they analyze the body. So I set out to learn as many techniques as possible, because you will rapidly find out that every body is different, and there's asymmetrical articulating pillars, and there's fusions, and there's congenital anomalies that you can't necessarily do the same thing every time. So finding ways to work around that. We have patients with Harrington rods where, because of scoliosis, they've bolted, C7 to L2 with metal. How do you adjust that person? How do you adjust T7 on that? It's fused, right? So there's ways, but you've got to know as many techniques as possible so you can. And now some people say, well, why not focus on one? You could be the master of one, because they all work. They all work. They're all going to remove interference. So you learn as many as you can in a proficient way that you can then utilize them when you're adjusting an infant, adjusting a 92-year-old woman, adjusting a guy with full spinal fusion, adjusting a woman with an extra cervical vertebrae, or a asymmetrical articulating pillar, and you just build that bank where you can then pull on. Like I'll use 3 or 4 different techniques during an adjustment because that's what they respond best with. So it's sort of an open process for me, but that's what works for me.
Perfect. And yeah, I agree. It's all a matter of to be able to adapt, and learning a lot of sorry, my battery died. Here I am. Yeah, so it's all a matter of being able to adapt different techniques and everything. Yeah, thank you so much. I don't know, I think that was the last question.
Perfect. I put an email up on there too. If social media is not your bag, you can email me questions as well. And
perfect.
So we're all in this together. There's no small questions. There's no stupid questions. It's all important. I would rather go, oh, that's easy. It's this, and this. There's no point in letting assumption guide you, because you could be missing something very, very obvious. I tell people in my office, and I tell them this with love, I say, in the universe, you are very special. In my office, you are not. We have seen this a million times. You're in the right place. We're going to help you. Same thing with students. In the universe, you're very special. As a student, thankfully, you're not. Whatever you're going through, whatever you're stuck on, whatever questions you have, countless other people have had that same question. And all it takes is asking for help. And thankfully, there's plenty of people out there that want to help.
100%. Perfect. Thank you so much. We really appreciate your talk.
Absolutely.
Looking forward to staying in contact. I hope that the other students and other people listening, that they would, don't hesitate and just send you messages too, because I'm sure you're a really good role model, and that you've got lots of things to teach us, and got lots of answers to our questions.
and if enough of the same question comes through, we can do this in the future with some
100%.
of the common questions. And
Yeah.
I'm happy to do this whenever you need me to.
Super. Amazing. Thank you so much, Austin.
My pleasure.
Really great.
This is what I love doing.
Amazing.
Well, thank you guys.
Cool.
Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you, Hugo, for putting all this together, like I said. And I look forward to
Always.
seeing all of you in person one day and sitting down in a room to be together and do this, because that human connection is vital. And,
100%.
and we need to get back to that as soon as possible.
Yeah, well, you're welcome to come to France, to Toulouse, any day. Well, hopefully with the COVID, everything will get better soon. But it will be awesome to meet up and to have a good chat. But thank you so much.
Pleasure.
I don't know what time it is over there, but I think it's like midday, something like that. Wish you a really
Like
good day.
I'm about to get my afternoon started.
Nice. Cool. All right. Well, all the best. We'll keep in touch. And thank you so much for sharing with us.
Of course. I love you guys. I appreciate you. Thank
Much
you so
love.
much.
Thank you so much, Austin.
Bye. Thank you.
Merci à tous.
Bye. Thank you. Merci à tout le monde.
The innate in me blesses the innate in you. Peace.